Today's episode of the Alamo City Innovators podcast is sponsored by Air Integrity Comfort Solutions for all your commercial cooling and heating needs. Welcome to the Alamo City Innovators podcast, where we shine a spotlight on the movers and shakers of San Antonio's vibrant community. Join us as we explore the stories behind the success of business professionals, nonprofit champions, influential political figures, and media personalities who are making a difference in and around the Alamo City. And now your hosts, Marco Salinas and Francisco Bermudez Jr.
And welcome back to the Alamo City Innovators podcast. I'm your host, Marco Salinas, and I have my co-host and my dear friend and my sometimes golf buddy and my always cigar partner, Francisco Bermudez Jr. Say hello, Francisco.
Hi, everyone.
And joining us today from the Alamo City, we've got a couple of superstars here as guests. First, I'm going to touch on our sub-guest, and he's very humble, and he's okay with that, being the sub-guest. And
Great to be a sub-guest.
And then we'll go to the superstar guest over here. So first, we've got Dale Lane, and Dale Lane is with
San Antonio Woman Magazine.
San Antonio Woman Magazine. We've got a couple of issues here that we can show to the camera if you're not listening to this and you're watching this on YouTube. And so Dale will be talking to us a little bit about what he does with San Antonio Woman Magazine. And by the way, I was looking through these magazines and they're really nice. They're really sharp.
Awesome.
And you guys have some real superstar women in there. So Good stuff. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. And then our main guest for Alamo City Innovators today is Miss Justine Eckert of Eckert and Associates Insurance Agency, but it's actually commercial insurance, isn't it, Justine?
Yes, it is.
It actually is, yeah. So we're going to learn a little bit about you and your journey and what you do and who you help and all that kind of good stuff.
Awesome.
Right? So welcome, guys, both of y'all so much for coming today. I'm excited to talk with y'all and learn a little bit about your stories. Good stuff, right?
Cool.
Okay, so Justine, let's start with you, okay? When did you get into the insurance world? You didn't just start recently, right? You haven't just been doing this for...
Actually 16.
Come in just a little bit for me, please.
I was actually 16 years old.
No, you were not.
When I first started.
No, you were not.
Yes. Kind of by accident. I think everybody from San Antonio has worked at West Telemarketing at some point in their life.
I worked there, yep.
So I started there, and my first project was actually doing insurance for life insurance. And so I would make the sale and then call over the licensed agent. And at that time, it sounded like easy work as an agent. So that was my motivation. But I found out you had to be 18 to get the license. So I went through their training there on site and got my license at 18.
Are you serious?
So I've been doing insurance.
But wait a minute. You got to start at West Telemarketing doing insurance. You want to know what I was taking calls for? Richard Simmons, Move, Groove, and Lose.
Oh, my goodness.
How did you end up in the good section and I'm over here doing Richard Simmons sales calls in the morning on a Sunday morning?
I don't know. I guess it was the luck of the draw.
Right.
It's meant to be.
That's right. Yeah, because you made a long career out of this, didn't you?
Yes, I have.
That's pretty impressive. So you got started there, and then when you turned 18, you're like, I'm not messing around, and you got your license right away.
I got my first license. I started off in General Lines Life and Health, and then 2 years later, I got my property and casualty license, which would allow me to sell all of the homeowners, auto, commercial insurance, and
at 20.
At 20, yes, that's.
So did you just skip adolescence? Like you didn't have any? There was no fun. You didn't do parties. You didn't go have a good time. You were just working.
I still had my share of fun, but I really got interested in life insurance, and I was started off with that. Then I wanted to know more, and so I was good at it. So I figured, well, if I'm good at it, I should just keep learning stick with it and keep going for more.
Holy smokes! Oh my gosh, I like that. That's really impressive. Now, if I was in an elevator with you and I'm like, "Hi, nice to meet you. What is it that you do?" Can you give me like your 30-second to 1 minute kind of elevator / B&I pitch? Like, what would that sound like? What would that sound like?
So I do commercial insurance, and I love helping business owners with everything from their general liability to work comp, professional liability, builder's risk, and business personal property. There is every aspect of business insurance that we do, but I really want to make sure that business owners are protected, that they know exactly what risks that they're faced with and how to protect themselves. And so that's where I come in.
I love that. That is some really good stuff. Okay, cool. So that's kind of your introduction. We know who you are. We know what you do. I'm going to switch back over to Dale for just a moment here. Dale, give me your 30-second to 1 minute introduction. If I'm a mover and a shaker and I'm a female in San Antonio, obviously you have a magazine that features women, right?
That's correct.
So what does that look like? What does that sound like if I'm kind of your prospect for something like that?
San Antonio Woman is a 23-year brand. We think it's the most recognizable brand for women in San Antonio. My wife and I are married, obviously, and business partners. We've owned and run San Antonio Woman for 3.5 years. We had another publishing business before that, but I'm passionate about having my wife boss me around and tell me what to do in the business. But from the brand's perspective, we're passionate about telling the stories of women in San Antonio who are making a difference in our community and making a difference in other people's lives.
Yeah.
It's an awesome business. It's an awesome job. So the magazine comes out 6 times a year. So we have amazing women on the cover. We have amazing women inside the magazine as well. And then we host some really cool, fun launch parties every other month.
Nice.
To bring everybody together to share those stories. And there's an energy behind it. And it's pretty awesome. But it's a great way to make a living and live in San Antonio and make a difference in our community.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, is there a degree of distribution with these things, or is it more kind of like you just get it directly from you? You have to be on the mailing list. How does that work?
It's a free publication distributed primarily at every HEB in San Antonio.
They do have HEB.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Nice.
It's in the racks at HEB. There's about 900 other locations, businesses and such where people can pick up the magazine.
Wow. I got you. Now, there is a connection between you and our main guest, isn't there? Don't you guys have some?
There is.
Why don't we talk about that? What is that connection?
Well, we're a women's magazine, so we're involved with a lot of female-driven community organizations, and one of them is CREW, Commercial Real Estate Women, here in San Antonio. You can share the details of it, but it's an amazing organization of professional women who all are in the commercial real estate ecosystem.
Yeah.
And my wife and I are members. Justine's on the board, and so we support that organization however we can.
Okay, that's good stuff. So, do you want to talk a little bit about that? What is your involvement with CREW, and what is I guess a bigger picture of what you do with them?
Yes, so I am on the board of directors as of last year, and I enjoy being involved with all the women and all the different business owners that are there as well.
Yeah.
My role also is the director of special events, and so we put on a big forum every year. This past year, that was held at the Tobin Center for AI and how it relates to commercial real estate. So that was really eye-opening. I feel like I really don't know as much as I thought I knew about technology.
Moving fast.
Yeah, it's really moving fast. And if you're not already looking into that and how you can use it to basically simplify your life and just be more efficient, then you're going to be behind the times.
You're going to be totally left behind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It sucks though, because like I've seen like 1 month to the next, it's like, oh, look at this huge new breakthrough with AI. And it's like a month later, it's already doing that. I mean, it's just insane. I've never seen technology move so fast as it does with AI.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really moving along. Now, is that the event that you had seen her at recently? Was that the same function, or was that something else?
Yeah, that was the same.
That was the one.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because Francisco, he wouldn't stop talking about you for like a week. He was like, it was so amazing, and she was up there speaking, and everybody knew her, and they all wanted to talk to her. And I was like, well, I don't think we could bring her on the show, bro, because she's too big.
She would charge for this show.
Right,
After
exactly.
we get to that
She
level,
gave us a
there's
big break.
fee. So I really appreciate you taking the time.
No, you're very welcome.
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
just honored to be here. Thank you.
Okay, now let's go back into the nitty gritty just a little bit. So you help businesses with insurance needs Do you tend to lean towards certain industries, Justine, or is it just open to any business that needs insurance?
It's really open to any business that needs insurance. We typically see a lot of general contractors, electricians, plumbers, painters, so all different types of industries. We take care of the certificates of insurance when they need that, or send off copies of their insurance in order to keep their license in order.
Yeah.
So we do all of that. But like this week, we even have a wedding venue that we're working on. And so
Okay.
just all different types of businesses.
Yes.
A lot of doctors also and dentists seem
Okay.
to lean towards us for commercial insurance. So I just love working with business owners. That's my passion.
Wow, that is awesome.
So,
okay, yeah,
I
I
mean-
want to hear a question from Francisco.
Yeah, so a lot of people go into business not knowing that, hey, I want to be an entrepreneur. Like, so a lot of people just fall into it.
Yes.
We're very good at fixing ACs. We're very good at helping people out. But a lot of times we're not even sure if we have the right insurance or not. So what are some of the things that you see that a lot of business owners are missing out on coverage, or some of the risks that they might not even think about?
Oh, definitely. And that is such a great question. So a lot of people, when they want to open a business, it's just like, oh, I have this awesome idea and I know that I can make money doing it. But sometimes they don't consider all of the other things that go along with it. Are they going to form an LLC? Are they going to operate as a sole proprietor? And so there's different benefits of doing that as an LLC, because you ultimately have this protection over you, a legal protection, so that they can't come after your personal assets. Now, there are a few exceptions, like with workers' comp, so that would probably be a whole other podcast in itself.
Yeah.
And so, or they may open it not knowing what the risks are. So I can give you an example of that. We had a lady that was getting ready to open up a business, and she was so excited. She had gone out and bought like 5,000 baby food jars, and she said, I'm going to make baby food. And so it's okay. Well, we can insure that, but at a price, right? So anything with young children or super high risk usually has a bigger price tag.
I bet.
And so because of that, she was looking at about a $5,000 minimum premium, which means that that's the lowest the insurance company will charge to do that. And we would have very limited options as far as carriers go. So we talked about it, and she said, well, you know, my first year, I'd be happy if I made $15,000. So to spend 30% of her revenue first year on insurance would be really a stretch.
Yeah.
So instead, we talked about, well, what other things could you do? So she decided to open up a lemonade stand. And
Really?
the insurance went from like $5,000 for the year down to about $500 for the year. And so that was really a big difference, because we covered all different aspects. It wasn't just the general liability. It was her equipment, her revenue, if somebody was to get sick, if she gets sued.
Right.
So all different things that need to be covered, we made sure to address that. And so usually my clients will say, oh, wow, I've never gotten so much insurance knowledge. Like, this is great, because I want to educate them. I want them to know when it's time to file a claim. I want them to know how to protect themselves from lawsuits.
Yeah.
So we definitely take it a step further. There's no 15-minute conversations that lead to a quote after that. It's usually a very thorough process that we go through.
Wow.
And I would say that, and just to add, like, as business owners, like, I trust myself that I'm going to do a good job.
Yes.
But now I hired 10 guys, and I'm praying every day that, you know what, hopefully we'll have a good day and nothing happens. But I've seen stories where people steal like expensive stuff from homes, or from businesses, or they injure the homeowner. Like, what are some of the things that
Yikes.
are those things people get insured, or?
Yeah, definitely. And that's a great question. I'm glad you asked. So the most common request from any kind of contractor is, I need general liability. I just need a certificate. And so, yes, you may need that, but that's one out of like 20 things that you need. And so we oftentimes they think, okay, well, I have all my equipment. I don't have to worry about it. I'm safe. But there's so many different things that could happen, right, to that equipment. Accidents happen. We had a client that was a plumber, and so they were on site, they were getting ready to finish up, and they had moved their sewer cameras. These are like $5,000 pieces of equipment. They moved them to the driveway so he could load them up in his truck. The homeowner came home, drove right over the equipment.
Oh my God.
And so there goes, there was at least one sewer cam, $5,000. I think the total claim ended up being about $8,500. And that was just one loss. And so these are things that could happen where, is he going to ask his client, hey, I know you just paid me for this job that I did, but I need you to reimburse me $8,500 because you accidentally rolled over my equipment in your own driveway.
Right.
And so there were some things that probably could have been done better. Like, that's not an ideal place to place that stuff that's
Sure.
that expensive. But I think he was thinking, I'm just going to load it up really quick and it'll be safe.
Right.
And so those are things that we cover. And so that's more like scheduled equipment. So that means when we insure a piece of equipment for a specific dollar amount.
Yeah.
And so that's really important to do, especially on those high value items, because a lot of people don't know. They think, oh, my homeowners will cover it because my office is there. Well, I hate to break it to y'all people that on homeowners, there's typically a limit for business coverage of $500. That's pretty much the standard for here in Texas.
Yeah.
And then you also have to meet your deductible first. So on average, that's going to be 1% to 2% of what your home is insured for.
Yeah.
So you have to meet that amount first before the insurance kicks in, and then you only have $500. And then guess what? Your homeowner's insurance rate is probably going to go up the following year, and
Ouch.
somehow you're still going to end up paying for that claim that you thought was a great idea at the time. So
Ouch.
that's why I always encourage, the owners to have a good inventory of their
Yeah.
items.
Yeah.
The serial numbers, the make, the manufacturer, all of that stuff is really going to be
Keep track of
important.
it.
Keep track of it, yes.
Wow.
And so then we go and insure it.
Yeah, no kidding.
And for me, I mean, I thought insurance was insurance. Like, I see the signs outside when I'm driving, hey, get insurance, get Geico. And I'm like, okay, well, call these people. And of course, they might offer commercial insurance, but what's the difference between somebody that just works with residential or homeowners compared to somebody that just specific for business?
Yes. Well, it's just like going to a doctor, right? So if you were going to the doctor, you probably have your family medicine doctor, your primary care doctor. But if you needed something major, like heart surgery or brain surgery, or you had cancer, do you think that's the best place to get your care? Probably not. And that's why
Right.
they refer you to a specialist.
Right.
And with my experience in insurance and commercial, it's hard to be an expert when you're doing everything.
Yeah.
And so I don't like to just skim the surface. I want to go take a deep dive into your business and what you do. And that helps me focus on what my clients, have, the problems that they have, the risks that they face, and how to provide them with solutions.
Yeah, definitely. Now, you are acting as a broker, right? And representing different carriers. Is that how that works?
Yes, that's how that works. So with commercial insurance, I have direct appointments with carriers, so I can represent multiple companies.
Okay.
So in the insurance world, we call it an independent,
Right.
Where we're not captive like a State Farm agent or an Allstate agent would be, where they have to just represent that one.
Sure, sure. So does that mean that if I was to sit down with you and say, okay, I need to figure out what I need, you're able to kind of say, well, we have options because we've got several carriers that, offer certain things. This particular carrier is probably a better fit for your type of industry, or maybe sometimes is just they're a little cheaper. Maybe we'll try to make it a little bit more affordable. Like, does all that play in?
Exactly. It sure does. And we know that certain carriers prefer certain appetites. So they'll say, okay, well, we really like working with specifically electricians.
Yeah.
Or we really like working with, flower shops or retail space.
Sure, sure.
And so that helps. But also the personal relationships that I've built over the years with these underwriters.
Okay.
Where I can say, hey, Michael, I have this one client and I know you usually don't like this particular type of risk, but I can tell you that I've, worked with them for so many years. I have referred my clients. I've used them in my own home.
Yeah.
They have these specific safeguards in place, and they
Right.
can also say, okay, well, you know what, Justine, we're going to make an exception because we know you bring us good business.
Sure.
And I spend the time to coach my clients on like, okay, don't leave your equipment in the car.
I
And
see.
sometimes there's really no way around it because you may be in between clients and then have to stop off to get supplies at Home Depot.
Yeah.
And I've had that before where a client got hit. They had a trailer that was locked. The person that broke in and stole their equipment rammed the back of it to open the trailer.
I see.
Stole all their stuff, unloaded
Wow.
everything in 25 minutes.
Sheesh.
So that's unfortunate, but it happened.
That's happened to you, right?
No, mine, they didn't ram it. They just stole the trailer.
Oh,
Oh my goodness.
they didn't go through all that trouble.
Yeah. Wow.
They did a better job.
Well,
at stealing.
thieves have gotten really brave nowadays.
Yes,
And,
yeah.
we
And
just-
lazy,
Yes.
apparently.
That's true too.
You know what, Justine? On a positive note, I think I've seen the video of your the guys coming home and the cameras were out in the driveway, actually running over the cameras, and it was a really cool video.
Oh wow.
I'm
I
ki-
didn't
I'm kid-
see
I'm
So
kid-
where'd you
I'm
see that
kid-
on TikTok or
yeah,
what?
something like that.
Wow.
Oh my goodness. Well, I would have loved to have seen a video of it. I got all the first-hand information and got to file the claim. So I'm sure the
Interesting.
adjuster would have enjoyed that.
Yeah, no kidding, right? Well, okay, now here's another question. So I know like when you're dealing with more of a personal insurance, right? There's certain factors that they look at, obviously, to determine, let's say you want a vehicle, they're going to say, okay, let's look at your accident history, okay?
Yes.
That's going to affect your rate. They look at your credit score. That's going to affect your rate, right? All those different little factors play in. Does it also work like that on the business side?
In certain ways. So, like on commercial insurance, you definitely would not want to have an out-of-state driver's license for an employee,
Okay.
or even as the owner. So, they do want Texas licenses only.
Okay.
They're not as forgiving with tickets and accidents.
Yeah. What
Sometimes
about like
they'll say-
DWIs or those?
Yeah, that's
all that plays
usually-
in.
Yes, it does. And
Okay.
sometimes it just means that you can't get coverage from that carrier. So if you're already with somebody, it's best to stay there.
Oh, gotcha.
So it may not be something that if somebody has a recent DWI or a recent accident, it
Yep.
may not be a good time to start a new policy. And so some of that is that from I have to be the bearer of bad news at times,
Yeah.
but it doesn't mean that we can't do it right now. It's just maybe the rate would be higher, or
Yeah.
maybe you would consider, how do we change this in the future? How do we avoid, unexpected surprises with insurance bills, right? So we could plan ahead and say, hey, well, you know what, Francisco, if you're going to hire somebody new, let me take a look at their driving record first. And also, if they're under the age of 25, we can help offset that if you happen to find somebody that's married or whatnot. But if the rates are going too high, maybe this is somebody that you want to tag along with somebody else who's just a little bit more experienced in driving. And it's not that, we're not trying to discriminate against age, but when we look at claims and the claims amount that are paid out,
Yeah.
it's typically going to happen with younger drivers. Yeah. So it's almost impossible at times with commercial, especially with big trucks, to be able to insure somebody who's under the age of 21. So we
see.
typically look at, you're going to want to have a driver that's a little bit older.
So I guess my takeaway is insurance is always going to be insurance. Insurance got to insurance, right?
Yes, exactly. But also, if you kind of follow some of those guidelines, that'll help protect you as a business owner.
Okay, but here's something real. I think that if I have to be concerned about all of those factors, again, it just kind of have this love-hate relationship with insurance in general, right? We need it. It serves its purpose, but they're so picky about everything. I mean, that's just the way it works, right? They're going to cover their butt first. But if you're working with somebody that already has been doing it for a long time, that has relationships with people, especially like you said in the underwriting department, sometimes you have ways of, let's move this around, let's adjust that. My reputation means something.
Yes.
Give me a little bit of extra credit here for this, when normally they would have been like, no, we're not even going to touch that. That's where working with somebody like you really, really can make a big difference, right?
Oh, yes, definitely. Because when you're doing quotes online, you don't really understand what you're signing up for. You might get a quote at that moment, but there's also a lot of exclusions. And this is why it's so important to read that policy back, which sometimes is, anywhere between 50 and 150 pages for
Yikes.
one policy. And I can tell you that it's very important because we had it was a plumber a couple years ago, and he had Geico. He called in, got a quote over the phone, got his policy because he was originally just saying, well, I need $1 million of general liability. Well, that's a pretty common ask. $1 million is pretty typical, $1 million per occurrence.
Yep.
And he did not realize that he had zero coverage for any kind of commercial work. So he was doing commercial new construction.
Yeah.
And he was his policy specifically excluded anything that was new construction, anything, any work that was done on a building without a certificate of occupancy.
Wow.
And so that was something he didn't know, but also most people don't have time, right, to read a 150-page packet.
Oh, no, that's all we ever do is just sit around and read fine print, Justine.
Yes.
Right, especially Francisco, right?
No,
That's what your weekends look like?
Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm definitely not reading anything. But
I
to
could
me,
put
it's
it into ChatGPT and say, tell me this is the most
Summarize
important
this.
part. Yeah,
Yes,
exactly. Yeah.
exactly. So I can't tell you how important that is, but I want my business owners to focus on what they're good at.
Right.
Let them focus on being great providers of cool air when it's super hot, your AC is not working.
exactly.
And let me do what I do, which is the insurance part. So
Right.
that's where I come in.
I love that. I love that. So when did you actually start your own firm?
So I started my own agency back in 2015.
Okay.
I started off as a farmer's agent.
Okay.
And so I had my own office there. I loved what I did, but I realized that over the years that I was really in love with commercial insurance, right? And
Yeah.
so I wanted to focus on that and just kind of switch gears a little bit on just being able to
Going all in on that.
Yes,
Okay,
exactly.
yeah.
And it gives me an opportunity also to give the best price to my client and the best coverage.
Okay.
I'm not obligated to just one company to say, well, even though this isn't the best fit for you, this is only what I can offer.
Yeah.
So this does give me the opportunity to help my clients more.
I like that. So then you were with Farmers, and then you officially started Eckert and Associates. When did that start?
Yes. So I sold the Farmers Agency a couple years ago in 2022.
Gotcha.
And then in 2023 is when I started applying for like the agency license and that sort of thing. And so got that.
So Eckert and Associates, that venture is relatively new, but your experience, your knowledge in that space, obviously since you were 16, basically.
Yes, exactly. So it's been over
a lifelong affair.
Yes, it's been over 23 years.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's pretty wild. Okay, can we talk a little bit about some of your non-work life things? You are still a human being.
Yes.
Outside of work, you are a work machine. There's no question about that. Justine Eckert is an absolute insurance machine. But when you're not working, you do have some downtime. You do have a family. You do spend a little bit of time with them.
Yeah. Oh, yes. And that also helped me leaving Farmers to go commercial is because I'm spending more time with my family.
Okay, and less time at the office.
And less time at the office. So my days were pretty long at Farmers. I mean, I would spend like pretty much 9 to 9 most days.
Wow. My gosh.
Did that also, throughout my pregnancy with my daughter. And so now I'm able to come home at a decent hour most of the time before it's dark.
Right. No
and
kidding.
so I get to spend time with my family. And that's really important, having that work-life balance. And when I first started my agency, I was single. So I lived at the office. Like this.
You weren't married at 16?
No, definitely not. My dad would have had something to say about that.
That's funny. Okay, now, so then if you do take some time off and you do get a little vacation, where do you guys tend to go? What do you tend to do? Are you like a world traveler type? Do you like to do more staycation types,
We love to travel. And so we love to travel to different countries and enjoy the food. So we've done quite a few trips overseas.
Tell me which ones have stood out to you the most. Give me your top 2.
So one of my favorites is Barcelona in Spain.
Wow, yeah.
Absolutely beautiful. The food is good. So is the shopping. And then also we loved going to Toronto in Canada.
Toronto,
it was
really?
Very nice. Nice city to be in. Very clean as well.
Wow.
But we loved it. Yeah, it was awesome.
That is awesome. Are there any other things that you do when you're not working in terms of hobbies or interests? Or I know lately you've been doing a lot of working out.
Yes,
a lot of
working out.
Yes.
So I work out 4 days a week with my trainer. And it's really helped me kind of have that balance. But also, business owners, you're very stressed, right?
Yes.
There's always something going on. I'm a perfectionist, so I want things to be perfect.
Yeah.
But, part of that is not just taking care of your mind, but taking care of your body is really important so that you can keep up with everything that's going on. So I do that 4 days a week. I also I am a little bit of an entrepreneur. I have another business also.
Say what?
Yes, doing luxury purse resale. So we sell authentic
I think I saw some of that at
purses.
your grand opening. Yeah.
So that's
some of those were making my mouth water. I was like, that's amazing right there.
Yeah, so it's kind of a hobby turned business. And I do that when I have some downtime with the agency. And my husband is also very much involved as well. And we all enjoy it.
That is some cool stuff. Well, we're getting pretty close to wrapping up. You guys have any final questions for Justine before we finish our podcast for today?
I don't have a question, Justine, but as a business owner, to me, it's really cool how you see your business and your relationship with your clients. As a business owner, having a relationship with my partners, with my business partners, insurance, banking, whatever it is really, really important. And it's very, very refreshing and impressive
so
that you see your business like that.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Francisco, go ahead. You're always talking about Justine and how amazing she is. Now's your chance we're recording.
Let me get the list. No,
Come on.
no, I mean, so what I know can any business owner talk to you, or does it have to be a certain size of business, $10 million business?
So,
or
and that's a
$5 million?
great question. We don't discriminate based on revenue or longevity of the business. We want to talk to people, whether they're in their very beginning stages or they say, well, you know what, I've had my business for 20 years and I just want to see if my policy is covering me correctly. So it doesn't matter if you're just starting up and you don't know exactly what that's going to look like yet, because sometimes, like we talked about the baby food thing, right, where someone will have an idea of what they want to do, but then, after talking about the risk and assessing everything completely, they may take, a different direction.
Yeah.
And that's okay. We don't mind having those. I don't charge for any of my consultations. We like to visit with our clients every year, especially when they're newer in business, because we want to make sure, did you add any new services? Are you thinking about a new location? And that sort of stuff ahead of time. So yeah, any size business, whether they're making, $1,000 a year or $10 million a year, we love to work with everybody.
And you have a couple people working for you, right? You have a little small team?
Yes, I sure do. My right-hand woman, though, is Amber, and she is amazing. So she's fully licensed. We have worked together for the last 8 years.
Very nice.
And so she oftentimes will get clients pre-qualified and do a lot of the back and forth with the underwriters. I swear she's the favorite. So sometimes I'll say, hey, Amber, can you call and see if we can get a favor done on this one? So
there you go.
So I don't know how
She's like
I
your
would
secret
do it.
weapon in a way,
Yeah,
right?
she definitely is. So I'll try first, my first request. And if it doesn't go as planned, I'm like, hey, Amber, I need your help.
Yeah.
It's funny because my guys don't let me talk over the phone with customers because they're like, I can't even understand when you're talking. So
Oh, my goodness.
cost us this deal.
Francisco's he's too humble.
Yeah.
He's too humble. You're not supposed to admit stuff like that on a
It's the
recording.
truth.
It's okay. The good thing you do what you do best and
Yes.
running it from the top, right? Yeah. Well, listen, Justine, everything you shared was amazing today. Thank you so much for all your insight and all your wisdom. I learned a lot in just a short 30-minute interview about commercial insurance. There's a lot to it. There's a whole lot of little moving parts, and you really do need an expert to guide you along. And it probably pays off in the long run because, like you said, if you just go, I'm going to save a few bucks and go online, and you get the wrong policy, and it's going to cost you big.
Yes. Exactly.
And that's where you're going to be like, okay, I was all upset because my premium was $200 a month more, compared to what I found online. But now I've got this gargantuan, case against me here, and it could kill my business.
Yes, and
Right?
actually, if we
Those
don't
things
have
really
time
happen.
for a quick story,
Please.
a lot of people are scared to ask for pricing because they think it's going to be too expensive, that they can't afford it. And we had a new restaurant owner, and we recommend the workers' comp, and I think he was more persuaded to take it because of the discount that he was going to have on his other policies. Well, 3 months into it, he had one of his employees that was bringing over a pot of boiling water to dump it in the sink, and he spilled it all over the front of his body.
Oh.
And so it involved so much medical treatment,
Right.
medical care, and just within the first couple of weeks, the bills for that were over $100,000.
Oh, I believe it.
If he
Yeah.
didn't have that coverage, there's no way he would have survived
Right.
that.
Right.
And so, think about, we always hope that nothing happens, but we have to prepare for when it does.
For sure. Yeah.
So
And the right business insurance policy can make or break you.
Yes,
in some
most
cases.
definitely.
Yeah. Right. Well, I'm scared to death right now, so thank you.
You're very welcome. That's
Hopefully-
what I'm here for.
That's right. Hopefully, anybody listening to this is encouraged to reach out to you for something like this. How should we reach you? What's the best way to reach you?
So the best way is through my office. We accept calls or text. Our telephone number is 210-693-0046. You'll also find us on Google. We are on there. So if you just search Eckert and Associates Insurance Agency, we're out at the Dominion.
Yeah.
But we help clients all over Texas, so you don't have to live here in order to get help. So that's something that we can do for anybody.
Good stuff. I've been to your office. Your new office is beautiful.
Thank you.
Very nice. I enjoyed the champagne, like I was mentioning earlier, for your grand opening. So hopefully you'll have some more little gatherings like that.
Yes, I would hope so to also bring other business owners together, because
That's right.
I love networking and helping other people, and sometimes it's just connecting them with the right person.
Yes, thank you very much. We are going to make sure that we add all your contact information to the show notes at the end of the podcast. And I would be remiss if I didn't also thank Mr. Dale Lane from San Antonio Woman Magazine. Really, really impressive magazine. What's the best way for them to reach you if someone wants to talk about getting involved in some capacity?
Oh, just go to sawoman.com.
sawoman.com.
Everything's there. It was an honor to spend some time with you, Justine.
Oh, and it was very much a pleasure. Thank you so much. I enjoyed this.
Thank you guys both. Yeah, the both of you guys are absolutely what we call Alamo City Innovators. So keep up the good work, guys. And that does it for another episode of Alamo City Innovators podcast. We'll catch you next time.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Alamo City Innovators podcast, sponsored by Airtegrity Comfort Solutions. We hope you enjoyed the inspiring stories and valuable insights shared today. If you liked what you heard, don't forget to hit that subscribe button on your favorite podcast platform so you never miss an episode. Your support means the world to us. And if you have a moment, we'd love to hear from you. Leave us a comment or review, sharing your thoughts and suggestions. Your feedback helps us bring you more of the content you love. Until next time, keep innovating and exploring new horizons with us on the Alamo City Innovators podcast. Thank you for listening.